But my next guest is a singer-songwriter, musician and producer, one of the most charismatic artists from the late 70s New Wave era. He's a pioneer of electronic music, and since the release of his first album back in 1978, has gone on to make another 21 records. To tell us about his latest, please welcome Gary Numan. So good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Hi. I'd get up, but I've got a dog on me.
That's always her excuse. Now listen, there can't be many people who've released 22 albums, and this latest one has done so well. Back in the charts for the first time since, what, early 80s or something like that?
Apparently 30 years.
That's incredible.
Well, that says more like how badly the others have done than
That's true, fair enough. Before we have a chat, let's have a look at one of the tracks. The album's called Splinter, and basically the last 5 or 6 years of your life have inspired it, is that right?
Well, yeah, in a way, most of it. I was diagnosed with depression in 2008 and didn't write anything for about 3 or 4 years. And then the cure they give you for depression is a bit of a weird one, because that kind of sucks you into this couldn't care less kind of state.
Like the medication.
So you don't want to write anything then either, because you don't care now. You know, you can't be bothered and you can't care. So it's a bit of a weird thing to get through. So you kind of have to cure yourself from the cure, in a way.
Right.
And you come back. Because it's quite seductive, you know, if you've been a fairly moody person all your life, and then you've had this depression thing going on, to suddenly find yourself in a world where nothing really matters, and everything is cool. You know, you don't want to come out of that. You like being there. So it took me a while to get through that.
I know that your wife helped you a lot as well, because you almost lost your marriage at one point because of the change in you. But
well, I take all the blame for that. It wasn't all my fault, actually. She had postnatal depression for about 4 years. She really kicked it off, you know. But it was part of that. Now, we had 3 children, so life was very, very different.
Yeah.
I was supposed for a few years. And Gemma did really struggle with postnatal depression, and it was horrible. And it took a while horrible for her. And so dealing with that and the change of life. And then I turned 50, and that hit me harder. I thought I'd sailed through that really easy, but I hadn't at all.
It's interesting, because you think, you're talking about depression and it inspired the album, as I say, you expect it to be really miserable, and it's not at all. You know,
No.
You've had fantastic reviews about the album. People are really loving your work. Do you allow yourself to be proud then, or do you not take any notice of it?
Well, no, I am proud of it. I am proud, and it isn't a depressing record. Although it's about that particular period, it was written mostly when I was better.
Yeah.
So it has a different spin in it than rather than I'm not sitting in the middle of it wallowing and going, oh, poor old me. I'm looking back at something and kind of pulling it apart.
You're a South West London boy, Hammersmith. Your dad worked in Heathrow. As a kid, you were more fascinated with sort of technology, weren't you? You wanted to fly a plane, didn't you?
Yeah, from when I was very young, yeah. The whole technology geeky thing is what attracted me to synthesizers.
Right.
You know, I went to a studio to make a punk album. I was in a 3-piece guitar-based punk band.
Yeah.
And I went to a studio to record what should have been our first album. And this kind of fascination with technology kicked in because I saw a synthesizer in the corner, and they let me have a go of it. And it blew me away. You know, I'd never heard anything like it. And I went back to the record company with these punk songs that had been very hastily and amateurishly converted into like pseudo-electro punk songs. And so I was saying to them, it's got to let me do it, got to put the album out. But they did eventually, and it did okay. And then we did another one a few months after that, and it went to #1. So it went good really quick, luckily.
What I love about the story is your parents sound fantastic, because didn't they use their sort of life savings to buy you all this musical equipment, and they really encouraged you? Yeah,
I didn't know they were doing that, though. I really didn't. Now, they bought me a really good guitar, a Gibson Les Paul, when I was, I don't know, 15, 16, which is an amazing thing to get.
Yeah.
And then my dad got me a van so we could gig. And then my mum and dad paid for the first studio session I ever did that got me the record contract. But I didn't realise that was everything they had.
Right.
Everything. They never said that.
Goodness me.
And I'm just going, oh, this is great. and it was a brilliant thing to do.
How much of a millstone were those massive hits in the 80s? You know, does your heart sink when people say Cars?
Not really. I've had a funny relationship with with cars in a way, because for a long time, I would do a radio interview, and they would play Cars when I got there, and Half Inch Electric when I left, and nothing in between.
No.
And so it became an obstacle. The only thing that people would hear was this old stuff, and no matter what else I did and how hard I tried, they would keep on playing the old stuff and not playing new stuff. So I began to resent them, in a way. And then I started to realise that that was actually quite childish. You know, I should be proud of them.
You're still writing as well, and still writing great music that people want to hear. You know, what's lovely about this new album is that it's obviously brought a whole new legion of fans as well, that maybe hadn't heard of your music before or hadn't associated you with that song. No, or weren't born.
Yeah,
sorry.
Most of the new people coming to see me now weren't born when Cars came out.
You know the whole image thing, because I know you actually did get your pilot's license eventually when you were on Top of the Pops. I think is the day you got your pilot's license.
Yeah.
And the whole Top of the Pops image. Is it true that you turned up to the studio and you had lots of spots, and so they just put loads of makeup on you, and that's how the image was kind of born?
Partly, it's not entirely true. I've been a bit glib with that in the past. The whole look of it was based on characters that I was writing. I used to write short stories.
Okay.
And that album's called Replicas, and it had the song called Half Inch Electric on it.
Yeah.
And they were all characters. So the person I was on stage was a character from a book, stories that I've been writing. The makeup thing, that was always meant to be part of it. But that particular day, it wasn't a bit thicker than I'd ever intended, because I was really spotty around here.
Okay.
And it was whiter than I'd intended as well.
Okay.
And then I noticed that people picked up on that.
Okay, well, the good news is that you're back on tour as well, I know that. And it's going to be quite a poignant gig in November, because you play Hammersmith Apollo, don't you?
Again, yeah.
So that's like a home gig.
Well, yeah, because where I was born in Hammersmith. And when I was a kid, most of the gigs I would go to see were there. It was my place. It was where I did all my dreaming, looking up at the people on stage and seeing them up there doing it. With that was everything.
I know that the three kids changed your life massively as well.
Yeah.
Great to see you, and well done with the album. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Good luck with the homecoming gig. I live just around the corner, so I might pop in.
Yeah, please.
OK, we've got time.